Welcome back. All right, so early on in the season, I did a video which talked about Nashville being off to a slow start. And right away, people said, hey, they got off to a slow start last year, too. Nothing to worry about. I get the feeling that the worrying is probably there at this point. They're 7-15-6. They have a 357 points percentage. Over their last 10, they're 2-5-3. And they can't get the puck into the net, is the problem. And what makes this problem even more pronounced is UC Saros is playing pretty well. And you don't want to see a goaltender playing really well and the team not supporting him because you know that over the length of a season, every goaltender, every player has their ebbs and flows. And so the odds of Saros continuing to play as well as he has, I would give it about a 50-50 because eventually, if the losses keep piling up, it would be understandable if Saros' play starts to drop off a bit as well. So, Roman Yossi's their leading scorer. 27 games, 7 goals, 15 assists, 22 points. He's also 34 years of age. Forsberg, 27 games, 9 goals, 8 assists, 17 points. He's 30 years of age. Ryan O'Reilly, 26 games, 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points. 33 years of age. Steven Stamkos, 27 games, 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points. 34 years of age. Jonathan Marchessault, 27 games, 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points. 33 years of age. Gustav Nyquist, 27 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 points, and he's 35. So the top 6 scorers for Nashville, all 30 years of age or older. Then you've got Evangelista, 25 games, 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points. Brady Shea, 27 games, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points, and he's 30 years of age. One that stands out to me that the production just isn't there is Colton Sissons, just the 2 goals in 26 games. He's not an older player, but it is definitely noteworthy that, the production just hasn't been there. And while we're talking about older players, they've also got Luke Shen on the blue line, who's 35. This is a league that definitely seems to favor the younger players, and speed is a huge part of today's NHL. And as much as players in their mid-30s will do their best, and some of them can be very good skaters, the reality is the guys in their mid and early 20s, usually a little faster on the ice. And so Nashville's really up against it. They need to find some speed. They need to find some offense. And the players they're going to look for that offense from right now are not producing. And they're not at a stage in their career where you can guarantee they're going to bounce back. Stamkos and Marchessault both had very good seasons last year with Tampa Bay and Vegas, respectively. But I think the biggest miscalculation, and I made the miscalculation too, was that they were going to go to Nashville and they were going to produce in a similar fashion for the Preds as they had with their previous teams. Because for Stamkos, playing with Kucherov definitely helped his numbers. And for Marchessault, just playing in Vegas definitely helped his numbers. And it just goes to show that when you declare winners on free agency day, which I don't, but when you declare winners on free agency day, it can age poorly. One thing that's aged poorly is the trades Barry Trotz has made in some of his decisions. Tolvanen being waived last year was a mistake. I just watched Seattle and the Rangers. Not going to spoil it, promise, but Tolvanen's a pretty good player. And he continues to show Seattle that he has that top 6, ability, and he's a goal scorer, which Nashville needs. Now, Tomasino, 11 games in Nashville, 1 assist. Not producing, not very prominent, traded. Goes to Pittsburgh, they get back a mid-round draft pick. In Pittsburgh so far, he's played 4 games, 2 goals and an assist, 3 points. He's got an even in the plus-minus department. And he's part of the reason, he's not the reason, but he's part of the reason Pittsburgh's been playing pretty well. Adding Tomasino definitely seems to have helped them. Then there's Dante Fabro, and it is another miscalculation. And then the question becomes, okay, so you've got Tolvanen, who wasn't being used, gets waived, does really well in Seattle. Tomasino, traded to Pittsburgh, wasn't working out. He's playing really well in Pittsburgh thus far. And Fabro plays 6 games in Nashville, no points, no sign of much of anything, and he gets sent to Columbus. And in Columbus, via the waiver wire, 11 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points, and he's a plus 14. I did a bit of a double take when I saw that. Plus minus isn't a perfect stat, but plus 14 in 11 games? That's insane. So what that tells me is that in Nashville, there should have been a home for Fabro, but with young players, either they're not giving them the right opportunity, they're not playing them correctly when they get that opportunity, or, maybe they just don't have faith in the young players that they should have, which means that for Evangelista, he might be on the clock. And I only say that because Fabro was a highly thought of prospect, gone. Tolvanen was a highly thought of prospect, gone. Tomasino was a highly thought of prospect, gone. And the team just keeps getting older. Now, UC Saros, 6-12-1 this season with a 910 save percentage. Of course, they swapped backup goaltenders. Wedgwood, gone to Colorado. I almost said Calgary, caught myself. Annunen now with Nashville. His totals, Annunen's, 6-5, 879 save percentage. So the numbers for Annunen, rough in Colorado. That's why they swapped goaltenders. But Wedgwood's numbers look like they're going to trend up in Colorado, which would be another loss for the Nashville Predators. So losing on the ice, losing when it comes to trades, and waiving the wrong players. Last year Tolvanen, this year Fabro. And so Barry Trotz, who's in his second year, has made Nashville older. The team's more expensive, and they're right at the bottom of the league. So that's a problem. And I'm not sure how you fix this. Because if they do go into some sort of a rebuild, well, you've got all these older players here. Many of them have pretty high cap hits extending beyond this season. One of the more remarkable things, and I've talked about this recently as well, is Philip Forsberg. Over the last 3 seasons, when healthy, Forsberg's been fantastic. But this year, not as much. And the totals of 17 points in 27 games, yeah, that's about how things have been going for him this year. And he's a player that not too long ago looked like he should be a 40 to 50 goal scorer every year. So whatever chemistry they had going last year that got them into the playoffs and made them pretty tough out for Vancouver in that first round, well, that's gone. So maybe picking up Stamkos, maybe picking up Marchessault, one or the other would have made more sense. Picking up both was, in all likelihood, a mistake, and has cost the Nashville Predators. Now, when you look at the advanced stats, they have a negative 22.5 goals for above expected, meaning they're just not getting any puck luck either. Goals against above expected, they're right around even there. It's 0.37. Their shooting percentage is 7.4%, which is 32nd in the National Hockey League. And I think 5-on-5, it's around 5%. So you're not scaring any teams with a shooting percentage like that. And their power play hasn't been fantastic. So what that does is it tells you, if you're playing against them, well, don't worry about taking a penalty. But, I mean, you're not all that worried about them 5-on-5 right now either. So with Andrew Burnett being in his second year and with the amount of coaches who've already been shown the door, does Andrew Burnett get shown the door by Nashville? Or does Barry Trotz look at this roster and say, you know what? I didn't give Andrew a team that could win, so this is on me, and take some of that blame. I think Trotz will accept some blame for how this team is playing, but it is very common for the coach to end up taking the fall when a team isn't necessarily built to win. And that's, to me, how things look with Nashville. You've got scorers that aren't scoring, aging scorers who aren't scoring, which happens. When you get into your mid-30s, it just happens in the NHL. That scoring will drop off. One example would be, you look at Detroit, you look at Patrick Kane, and Kane's, played more games than we expected, but he's not the same Patrick Kane as he was before the hip problem. And he's aged as well. It's just, that's how it works. You are not going to get those same point totals. The odds of Stamkos or Marchessault suddenly turning it on and getting back to a 40-goal pace, they're low. They're not zero, because they've both shown they can do it in the past, but they're not great, right? So for Nashville, it is tough. And then you look at their upcoming schedule. They're at home on Tuesday against Calgary. Calgary is not as good on the road as they are at home, right? So that, maybe Nashville wins that, but then it gets tough. Thursday, they're in Dallas. Those games are usually highly entertaining, but Dallas needs some wins here. Then they're in Colorado on Saturday. And Colorado offensively, much better than Nashville. I could see that being a blowout victory for Colorado. It could be interesting if Wedgwood's in net for Colorado that night too. Then they come back home. They play next Tuesday against the Rangers. The Rangers having some issues, absolutely. And then on Thursday the 19th, they're at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh on a hot streak right now. Will they still be on a hot streak when they meet in a week and a half's time? We'll see. And then they're at home on Saturday against the Kings on the 21st of December. The Kings are playing some of the best hockey in the National Hockey League right now. And then to close things out before Christmas, on Monday, December the 23rd, at home still, they're against the Carolina Hurricanes, who right now haven't looked great lately. So the upcoming schedule is a challenge. But any schedule is a challenge when you're at the bottom of the league. And so I do think that we'll start hearing a lot more rumblings about who might be out and who's going to get traded. But who do you trade? You're not trading Yossi. You're not trading Forsberg. You're certainly not trading Saros. People won't touch that Stamkos contract. I don't think the Marchessault contract's attractive to other teams either. Nyquist? Does Nyquist have trade value right now? So this is an interesting dilemma that the Nashville Predators find themselves in. They went out and during the summer, they picked up Shea, Stamkos, Marchessault. None of the three have worked out as expected. Of the three, I think Shea's probably been the most positive for the team. But it is difficult right now to foresee if Nashville does decide, okay, we're selling. Who are you selling to whom? And what does the team look like after that? What is the plan going to look like going forward? Because if you do go into a full rebuild and you have Stamkos, Marchessault, and other aging players there, I mean, it's a bit of a demotivator for these players, and it just leads to, potentially a rough situation where you might have to eat some of the cap money, retain some of that money in order to move some of these players. So while I praised Barry Trotz for the job he did last year, this disaster that we find with the Nashville Predators this season, at least part of that has to be thrown onto Barry Trotz. I'm not absolving the players. The players need to be better. I think some of the coaching decisions probably need to change as well. This team should not be the worst shooting team in the National Hockey League, but that's where we're at. And so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding Nashville. How does this get fixed? Does it get fixed? Do they need to do a rebuild? Do they need to do a retool? How do you deal with expensive contracts for aging players that don't really have trade value? And keep in mind, too, trade protection that some of those contracts would have that would make things a little more difficult in terms of moves to be made. It is a very difficult job ahead for Barry Trotz, for the Nashville Predators, and it almost feels like David Poile got out at the right time. It kind of sort of feels like that. Like David Poile leaves, and right now the team kind of has that tire fire vibe to it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding Nashville. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.